Have you ever met someone who seemed radiant with confidence, magnetic in presence, and unshakably self-assured? Yet beneath that shine, something felt disturbingly hollow? Narcissism is often misunderstood as mere vanity or arrogance, but the truth runs much deeper. It is a psychological paradox, a split between the craving for admiration and the terror of being unseen. The narcissist's world is built on a fragile illusion of control, one that constantly risks collapsing under the weight of insecurity. The dual nature of narcissism reveals a painful truth about the human condition, that beneath the masks we wear to appear powerful often lies the desperate fear of being insignificant. We all contain fragments of narcissism within us. It is the part that longs to be recognized, loved, and validated by others. In small doses, it is not only natural but necessary. It fuels ambition, self-respect, and the desire to create. But when the ego becomes the master rather than the servant, this energy turns toxic. Narcissism transforms from self-love into self-obsession, from confidence into control, from individuality into manipulation. It is the shadow side of selfhood, where the reflection in the mirror becomes more real than the person looking into it. The roots of narcissism trace back to childhood, where the developing self learns to survive through attention. When love is conditional, based on performance, obedience, or appearance, the child internalizes a message: I am only worthy if I am admired. This belief becomes the seed of narcissistic pain. To protect this fragile sense of worth, the mind builds an armor of perfection. Every compliment becomes a lifeline, every criticism a wound. The adult who grows from this soil may appear self-confident, but their confidence is a performance. They construct a persona that demands worship because they fear what lies beneath the mask: emptiness. Philosophically, narcissism is the tragedy of identification with the false self. The ancient Greeks told the story of Narcissus, who fell in love with his reflection in the water, unable to look away until he faded into nothing. The myth is not about vanity, but about confusion, mistaking one's image for one's essence. In psychological terms, it is the ego's addiction to illusion. The more attention the narcissist receives, the more their sense of self temporarily expands, but it never fills the void. It is like drinking salt water to quench thirst. The more they consume, the more they crave. The dual nature of narcissism lies in its contradiction. The outward projection of superiority hides an inward well of shame. The narcissist's grandiosity is not confidence, but compensation. They speak as if they know everything, but they fear being exposed as ignorant. They dominate others not from strength, but from the terror of vulnerability. The louder the display of power, the deeper the wound that drives it. In this way, narcissism is not only destructive but deeply tragic, a soul trapped in its own mirror. Yet it is not confined to individuals. It is woven into the fabric of our culture. Modern society rewards narcissistic traits: visibility, dominance, aesthetic perfection, while punishing humility and introspection. Social media has turned mirrors into screens and validation into currency. The pursuit of likes, followers, and status feeds the same psychological hunger that once consumed Narcissus himself. We are living in what psychologists call a narcissistic age, where identity is curated, comparison is constant, and self-worth is measured by digital applause. But even in this age, the essence of narcissism remains unchanged. It is the desperate attempt to control perception, to make the outside world confirm what the inside self cannot believe. Every narcissist lives between two extremes: the inflated fantasy of omnipotence and the hidden abyss of inadequacy. The oscillation between these poles creates emotional chaos. When they are praised, they feel invincible. When criticized, they collapse. This instability makes true intimacy nearly impossible because connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability threatens the illusion of perfection. The narcissist fears love as much as they crave it. To be loved means to be seen fully, flaws and all, and that is precisely what the narcissist cannot allow. Philosophically, narcissism is not merely a personality disorder, but a reflection of the modern soul's fragmentation. The self has become detached from its deeper essence, floating between external validation and internal emptiness. The philosopher Eric Fromm described this as the marketing character, where people become products, constantly selling an image rather than living as authentic beings. In this sense, narcissism is not the disease of a few, but the symptom of an age disconnected from genuine being. Yet even within this shadow lies potential for transformation. The pain that drives narcissism, the longing to be seen, is not evil in itself. It is the yearning for connection, meaning, and love. When this yearning is redirected inward, toward authentic self-awareness, it can become a force for healing rather than destruction. The key lies in confronting the shadow self, the part that fears worthlessness, and learning to love without conditions. True self-love is not performance, it is acceptance. It is the courage to face imperfection without the need to hide behind a mask. When we learn to see ourselves not as an image, but as a living process, narcissism begins to dissolve. Because at its core, narcissism is a confusion of reflection and reality. The cure, then, is presence. To be present is to step out of the mirror, to stop chasing the reflection and meet life as it is, imperfect, uncertain, and real. The journey toward understanding narcissism does not end with awareness. Recognizing the dual nature, the light and shadow within, is only the first step. True insight requires reflection, compassion, and deliberate effort to integrate these aspects into a balanced self. The narcissist's struggle, at its core, is human. The tension between longing for acknowledgement and accepting imperfection, between craving control and surrendering to reality. One of the most challenging aspects of narcissism is its ability to hide behind charm. Outwardly magnetic, persuasive, and often successful, narcissists draw people in with charisma and confidence. Yet beneath the surface, the fear of inadequacy quietly directs behavior. Relationships with narcissists can feel intoxicating at first, magnetic energy, attention, admiration, but over time, the weight of their inner insecurity seeps through. Emotional manipulation, control, and subtle coercion often emerge, not as conscious malice, but as a defense against the unbearable fear of being seen as ordinary or unworthy. It is important to understand that narcissism exists on a spectrum. Not every individual who displays self-centered behavior is pathological. We all harbor traits of narcissism, moments of vanity, pride, or craving validation. The key difference lies in awareness and flexibility. When the ego dominates, the person becomes trapped in cycles of need, performance, and comparison. When the ego is recognized as one facet of self, the energy can be channeled toward growth, creativity, and authentic self-expression. Psychologically, narcissism often correlates with early attachment experiences. Children who grow up with inconsistent love, conditional approval, or emotional neglect may internalize the belief that they are only worthy when they achieve, perform, or appear special. To cope, they construct a protective mask, confidence, charm, or perfectionism. This mask becomes a double-edged sword. It allows the individual to navigate the world successfully, yet it also alienates them from genuine intimacy. Every connection is shadowed by fear of exposure, failure, or rejection. The duality is also evident in self-perception. Narcissists oscillate between self-aggrandizement and self-loathing. They may believe themselves superior, yet secretly fear inadequacy. This internal conflict manifests in behaviors ranging from excessive boasting to withdrawal, from control to avoidance. The more they seek validation externally, the less secure they feel internally. This is why narcissism is often misunderstood. The outward projection of strength conceals an inner vulnerability that few can see. Philosophically, narcissism teaches us about the dangers of attachment to image and the illusions of the ego. It reminds us that identity built solely on perception, whether by ourselves or others, is fragile. True selfhood cannot be measured by admiration, likes, or applause. It exists independently of reflection, rooted in consciousness, presence, and authenticity. The dual nature of narcissism, therefore, is not merely a pathology, but a metaphor for the human condition. It reflects our collective struggle to reconcile desire, fear, and the search for meaning. Healing narcissism, or integrating its duality, requires several key practices. First is self-awareness. To observe without judgment the moments when ego dominates allows recognition of the underlying fear. Mindfulness, journaling, and reflective practices create space for insight. Next is vulnerability. Choosing to reveal imperfections and accept oneself without constant validation gradually diminishes the hold of the false self. An authentic connection becomes possible only when masks are loosened. Compassion is equally vital. Many narcissists are harshly judged, yet their behavior is often a protective response to pain and insecurity. Extending empathy to oneself and others creates the conditions for transformation. When narcissistic energy is acknowledged rather than condemned, it can be redirected toward constructive ends: leadership, creativity, problem-solving, and meaningful relationships. What was once a trap becomes a tool. Boundaries also play a critical role. Narcissistic tendencies can emerge in everyone under stress, especially when external pressures trigger fear of inadequacy. By setting limits on attention, self-comparison, and responsiveness, individuals protect themselves from sliding into self-obsession. Boundaries allow the ego to exist without dominance, creating a healthy balance between self-interest and connection. Integration means recognizing that the light and dark aspects of narcissism coexist. Confidence, ambition, and self-expression are positive. Obsession, manipulation, and defensiveness are destructive. The goal is not to eliminate narcissism, but to harmonize its energy. This requires honesty, reflection, and practice. When mastered, the individual becomes aware of ego impulses, can tolerate imperfection, and acts from presence rather than compulsion. Ultimately, the dual nature of narcissism is a lesson in humility and self-realization. It challenges us to confront the illusions we create about ourselves and to accept that worth is inherent, not earned through admiration. By stepping out of the mirror, we discover a self that is resilient, grounded, and capable of authentic love, both for ourselves and others. Narcissism, once a shadow, transforms into a source of insight. So, ask yourself, where in your own life do you seek external validation? Are there masks you wear to hide fear or insecurity? Reflect on these patterns and consider how you might meet yourself with honesty and compassion. Comment below. Which part of your ego have you noticed trying to dominate, and how are you working to balance it? Sharing your experiences could help others recognize and transform their own patterns. Remember, the human mind is not a reflection to worship. It is a canvas to inhabit. Life is lived in presence, action, and connection, not an endless rehearsal of image. Every moment of awareness, every step toward authenticity, chips away at the illusion. Let your self-expression be rooted in truth, your confidence in understanding, and your relationships in empathy. Narcissism is not the enemy. It is a guide, pointing toward the work we must do to truly become whole. If you found this video insightful, give it a like and subscribe for more philosophical explorations of the human mind. The journey is ongoing, but every conscious step transforms not only the self, but the way we experience the world. Embrace presence, release the need for perfect control, and allow your mind and heart to flourish in genuine connection.